Thank you. What has happened during the week? We're going to break everything down with my speakers. They'll be joining us shortly. But the IMF, Ghana is under an IMF program which started 2023 after the economic turmoil Ghana faced during COVID and after COVID. So Ghana went to the IMF, and periodically the IMF reviews the program that we are in and would give their verdict on it. So about a week or so ago, the IMF gave their fifth review of Ghana's program. And a part of the review had to deal with the IMF's verdict on Bank of Ghana and what the Bank of Ghana is doing. And that part had to talk about the Bank of Ghana taking a hit or losses due to certain fees because of the activities of Ghana Gold Board. So you're asking yourself, what is Ghana Gold Board? Ghana Gold Board was previously known as MMC, Precious Minerals Marketing Company. And basically, what Ghana Gold Board came to do is a bill that went to Parliament, the Ghana Gold Board bill, and was passed into law. So PMMC now became Ghana Gold Board with Sammy Gyamfi as the CEO of the company. And Ghana Gold Board, the law that establishes it, primarily has to do with the governance in that space, mining space, and buying of gold and other precious minerals. So, like we do with Cocoa Board, currently nobody can sell their gold, diamond, or any other minerals mined in Ghana that is small scale to anybody or any entity apart from Ghana Gold Board. Again, there is a portion of large scale mining gold that also they have to give to the Ghana Gold Board to buy. So, like Cocoa Board, which is the only institution mandated to buy cocoa from farmers and sell outside Ghana, anybody that does it is involved in an illegality. Same with Ghana Gold Board. So the Gold Board takes money from the Bank of Ghana, goes to buy gold from small scale miners and also portions from the large scale mines, then prepares it, sells outside Ghana, takes forests, which is predominantly or primarily USD or US dollars, because the Bank of Ghana gives them Ghana cedis, and they go to these small scale miners and buy it in Ghana cedis. They sell outside Ghana to get US dollars. When they sell, then they bring the dollars to the Bank of Ghana. So the Bank of Ghana has a lot of dollars, and that is why our currency, according to them, is doing so well, because anytime there is pressure on the currency or the dollar, it means that the activities or the dynamics of demand and supply kicks in, the economic side of demand and supply kicks in, and the dollar appreciates against the Ghanaian cedi. But once there is availability of dollars in huge volumes for individuals and also the banks, it means that the demand for dollars would not outstrip the supply. So always, then the Ghanaian cedi does well. And that has accounted for a lot of the appreciation, close to over 30% um, for the year 2025, which is the first time since I think 2007, the Ghanaian cedi, after a year or annually, has rather appreciated against the US dollar instead of depreciation. So that is basically what the gold board does. It does also other things, that is managing the area, the precious minerals area, as well licensing and others. But primarily, this is one of the issues, because we are focused on this particular side of gold board. That is why I've taken painstaking time to tell you what they do, particularly with that thing. So basically, that is what they do as part of what they do. There are others like licensing and others they do, but our focus is on the buying of small scale mining gold, a portion of large scale mining gold or other minerals that they take money from Bank of Ghana, buy. But also, I have to put this out: they don't buy directly from these small scale miners. They also have people that they have licensed. So these people that they are licensed buyers. Licensed buyers go to small scale miners to buy the gold, bring it to the Ghana Gold Board. Then the Ghana Gold Board will export it, and it goes through the process that I have just enumerated in the last 5 minutes. So if you want to know why this discussion, this is what has happened. So the IMF fifth review says that these processes, Bank of Ghana paying Gold Board for doing the job they do for them and other things, has culminated in a loss to the Bank of Ghana of $214 million. What does that mean? We are breaking it down for you. How come you have been given money to go and buy a commodity like gold and other precious minerals, buy and sell? Why are you making losses of 214 million within the uh, January to September 2025? But remember, the gold board, before it metamorphosizing into from PMMC into gold board, was the thing completed around March, April, thereabout. So I think February, March, thereabout, that was when the bill was passed in Parliament. So basically, I've explained it in the layman's perspective. Then now we are going to break it down. But if you would want to ask a question, if there is something you'd want to add, all you have to do is request for the mic and share your thoughts. My first speaker is here. Alfred, good evening and welcome to Sit at the Table. I hope you're fine, sir.
Good evening, Austin. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Merry Christmas, belated, and also Happy New Year in advance.
Thank you, and same to you, and same to everybody on the space this evening.
Okay. So Alfred, let me give you time to break down the issues with Gold Board and the current one between impasse between Ghana Gold Board, G, which is Bank of Ghana, the IMF review, and all the surrounding brouhaha. Break it down for us.
Okay, thank you, Austin. Thank you for the opportunity again. I should start by saying that I don't even think this debate should have gone on for this long. But this is us, and we like to debate a lot of things that shouldn't even warrant that much debate. But anyways, I think in order to understand and put things into perspective, it's worth maybe walking us through the Bank of Ghana's domestic gold purchasing program. And this program, the Bank of Ghana launched it and started it in 2021, June 2021. And the idea was that we're going to be buying gold. It's essentially we are trying to convert cedis into dollars. But the way we do that is we buy gold domestically, we export the gold, and then we bring in the forex. So that was the starting point. And the Bank of Ghana basically wanted to increase its foreign exchange reserves. Remember that for the longest time, at least in the first term of the NPP, up until 2021, what was happening was every year we go to the international capital market, we get about $3 billion dollars through the Eurobond market. to shore up our reserves, to shore up our foreign exchange reserves. And then in 2021, towards the end of 2021, there were indications that we will be shut out of the international capital market. And so in 2022, we're not able to do that. So, of course, that warranted creative solutions, right? And so what the Bank of Ghana, and this was also reflecting trends that was even happening across the world, where central banks were getting more into buying more gold to build up their reserves. So when you look at even gold prices right now and what is happening in terms of the rally in gold prices, one of the driving forces is central banks all over the world expanding their purchase of gold. That's one of the driving factors, apart from the geopolitical issues. So the Bank of Ghana started that program. At the time, from what we understand, the stock of, or the Bank of Ghana's holding of gold was about 8.7 tons. And so one of the program's objective was that over 5 years they were going to double the 8.74 tons, because the argument was that it didn't make sense that of all the gold that we mine, right, we still don't have that much gold in our reserves. So that was the starting point. And then how they were doing that was, there were multiple ways that they were doing that. One was that they would buy refined gold from from our mining firms, right? From the firms that we have, they would buy refined gold from them at their respective LBMA refineries. So LBMA is like the London Bullion Market Association. Is like, let's call it the gold standard, but it's like basically it sets all the standards, it sets the pricing, and all of that when it comes to gold. Remember that that gold goes through different stages, right? So there is doré, which is also mixed with different components, right? And then so in Ghana, for example, at the time, the PMMC also has responsibility for assaying, and assaying is basically just establishing the actual or the pure gold content, so to an extent, because even after assaying, the gold will still have to be refined into a purity of, I think it's usually like 99.99% or something like that. um, but so the plan at the time, so that was one channel. So first, the Bank of Ghana will buy gold at the refined gold, and then basically that it automatically go into the Bank of Ghana's gold reserves. The second route, right, was also buying gold from local aggregators. So buying from small scale, for example, right? They buy the gold. It is it bought from the small scale. It is assayed, like I said, PMMC will do the assaying, and then it would be exported. And then but it will be exported into a refinery, because again, before the gold can go into the Bank of Ghana's reserves and be considered monetary gold, right? It has to be refined into that purity level that we are talking about. So those were the two major ways that they were doing it. Then in then the government also made a rule, or had an agreement with the large scale miners, that they should also sell 20% of their gold to the Bank of Ghana, right? So that was the other part. But that agreement was actually with in Ghana. There's a chamber of mines, right? It's not all the large scale miners that are members of the chamber of mines, but the bulk of them, like the majority of them. I think when you look at the output, they probably produce more than 90% of the gold of large scale miners. So that, and the reason I'm saying this is I want to be able to make some clarifications, because there's always confusion between in the gold holdings. The whole program, like, it's all confusing sometimes, right? People conflate a lot of the different parts. It's a complex program, and I don't also blame people, because and recently I made a tweet that this is also one of the first times that we're actually getting a lot of information about the whole gold purchasing program. This has been running since 2021, and for people that, for those of us that rely on publicly available data, you could always find challenges finding information about this arrangement. So the reason I want to stress on the life skill part is that when the GOLDBOD started, they also came into an agreement with nine large scale miners, and then they were buying 20% of their output. That is not that group. Their output is very small relative to all the large scale miners. So the Bank of Ghana still actually does the big part. So when you look at the gold holdings, right, the Bank of Ghana's gold holdings, the 20% that it buys from the members that are part of the Chamber of Mines, that one still continues. The Bank of Ghana still does that. The Gold Board has taken over the Dory part, the small scale part, and also the nine that the Gold Board had the agreement with. That's what is happening, right? So I just wanted to make that clarification. So yes, but And then just back to the bit of the history again. In 2022 December, because looking at pump prices of petroleum products and things like that, they were all through the roof. That was when things were getting to like 22. Diesel was going to 22 cities and things like that, right? So then the idea was that, okay, for the small scale gold, what we are going to do is we're going to buy them again, but now we're going to exchange some of it for forex. We're going to basically, the idea was it was going to be a barter. That was the starting point. Of course, it turned out that it wasn't really a barter. They will still just sell it for forex and then use it to pay for petroleum products. So that is what gave us gold for oil, right? So sometimes people get confused and say that, okay, well, the domestic gold purchase program is all just about gold for oil. No, it wasn't. Gold for oil actually was a later thing that was introduced as part of the domestic gold purchasing program. And the idea was that we buy gold locally instead of trying to find forex. We buy the gold, we use our CDs to buy gold, we export the gold, um, and then we will use that to buy pay for the petroleum products. So it was either through a barter system where we give you gold, you give us the equivalent in petroleum products, or we will sell for forex. The challenge with gold for oil, and why one of the things that we talked about mostly, was the transparency, right? So it sounds like it's a straightforward transaction of we have gold, take it and give us oil, or we have gold, we sell it, we have forex, and then we buy oil with that. But what happened was that there was a lot of like middlemen that were introduced in the value chain. And once you have middlemen, you have brokers, you have all these people that are in there. What then happens is that, what fees are you paying for them? What prices are you getting? So it introduces a whole bunch of transparency issues, right? And so that is the fundamental thing. So so then comes 2020. And this started, so this ran 2023 and 2024. So when you look at the data, right, one of the things that you see is that over time, our gold, the gold exports from small scale has been increasing, right? It has been increasing. Like, for example, between 2023 and 2024, it doubled, right? From, I think it was 32 tons or 37 tons, and then we are looking at about 63 tons in 2024. Now the gold bar, for example, the CEO said they surpassed the 100 tons target. That was the target they set from January to the end of the year. So you can see that there's a trajectory of things that is happening, right? It is increasing. So that is the basis. I just wanted to set that context for us so that we all understand, so we don't confuse all the different programs at the Bank of Ghana running all under this umbrella program of domestic gold purchase program, which is the simple idea of we're buying gold locally, we're taking it to get forex. That is all, to basically either get forex or also converting some of it and then adding it to the Bank of Ghana's gold reserves, right? So come a new administration, then the gold board came about, right? So the gold board is essentially, like I said, it's taking over the gold for reserves part of the program that has to do with small scale miners. So what the gold board is doing is the gold board has licenses, aggregators, it has tier one buyers, tier two buyers, and essentially it is doing the same thing, right? So it is buying gold, buying the gold through these aggregators. We understand that right now there's only one key aggregator, which is the one that gets. So the gold board, when it started, had licensing categories, right? So there's self-finance aggregators, and these people were the ones that were supposed to use their own money for the gold, and then the gold board will buy from them. As of now, I'm not sure to what extent those self-financing aggregators, what volumes they are doing. But then there's also Bower Rock, which is the main aggregator, the one that the government actually, or the Bank of Ghana, advances the money to, and all of that. So the idea again is similar: buy gold, export, and then bring in forex. Right, straightforward. The challenge, or some of the things, and I like I said, one of the things I've said multiple times, again, I think I said it here, is that we're getting more information about this transaction than we used to get. And as an analyst that is always looking for publicly available data, I don't take that for granted, right? I also say that I've also been a long advocate of, when we are doing analysis, to make the analysis as comprehensive as possible, and not just pick stories that are of good news to us and then neglect the other part. So, for example, Goldbot says that, okay, we brought in $10 billion or more than $10 billion in forex. So that's a success story that they celebrate. right? But then as an analyst, some of the questions that I start asking is, okay, does GOLDBOD produce gold to begin with, right? Does GOLDBOD control the world market price? One the world market price of gold, and the price is important. I give you an example. Last year, the average gold price was about $2,000 per troy ounce, right? Of it, and it's usually it's measured in fine ounce. This is the LBMA spot price. It's fine ounces. So this year we are looking at up, like prices are up by over 70%. So even if you were to export the same amount of gold from last year, right? You take the same amount of gold and export it this year, you're already getting double or almost double the forex that you, or about more than 70% of the forex that you got last year. So that is an important context that must be factored into the analysis, right? So I've talked about pricing effects. Pricing is a very important part. I've talked about the fact that the gold board is refining. One of the things that the gold board model does though is that it is giving the Bank of Ghana a better oversight of forex that is coming from the small scale sector. And that is important because before it was fragmented, right? It wasn't clear what was happening, but having a more central authority directing the forex, and some of that forex would have gone to the commercial banks, but that forex now is coming to the central bank. The central bank has a bit more control over that. Is able to do market intervention as and when needed, which to support, because we do a managed float currency system, right? And so that is important. But what I say is that all of that analysis and all the benefits that are claimed, right, must be put in the right context and must be discussed to the downsides as well. One of the fundamental downsides is the environmental cost, right? The environmental cost is important. So even as we are increasing small scale gold exports, we know that responsible mining is a big issue when it comes to the small scale sector. So if the gold from there is increasing, what does that mean for the environment? That's an important piece of analysis that we cannot ignore. But usually when you bring up that analysis, people will say, well, Galamsey didn't start with the gold board, and that's true. We have had Galamsey and as an issue for a very long time. But I also reply back to people and say, well, the practice of taking domestic gold and exchanging for forex didn't also start with the gold board, but the gold board would claim credits and say $10 billion, right? This is similar to when the government at the time will say free SHS has made it possible for whichever made 2.5 million people to go to school. Well, that analysis is flawed because even without free SHS, people were still going to school. So the analysis is what would have taken into account what would have happened anyway. So basically, one of the simplest ways, okay, what is the historical trend? Right? What is a historical trend and how much has gold board contributed? And you have to also discount the prices. You have to take into account the price effect. The gold board does not control the prices of gold, right? So you cannot just use the 10 billion, for example, as the impact. But what do you do? One of the things that I've tried to do is, okay, let's look at the volume, and the volume have gone up relative to the trend, and that's good. Then that also comes to the issue of the environmental cost. Then the other issue is the trading losses that we are talking about. So how does the trading losses come about? So the gold board coming basically getting monopoly over the market, right? Over the small scale gold trading. Basically, the gold board is the only entity that can buy, assay, and export small scale gold. We have made a law. We've passed a law that has come into effect, but you remember the gold board is coming into a market that is very informal, right? So if the gold board has to set its pricing in such a way that it will still get gold. So what does it do? What it does is that it will still so initially, and I should mention that initially, my understanding and from reading some of the publicly available documents was that there's a trading cost, right? Because our gold, we sell our gold at a discount. We sell the small scale gold at a discount, right? We're still going to the Dubais and the Indias to sell our gold. Those markets buy at a discount. We also have to remember I mentioned that the gold is dory. We assay it into a certain percentage, but we still have to refine it into monetary gold. So the LBMA market price, the gold spot prices are fine ounces. So we have to take into account the refining charges, right? We have to take into account. So even though we are set buying the gold on the buying side at the LBMA market price, and even the gold board had something called the gold board discount or premium or something that they call it. So even though we are buying that, so it's almost like we are buying the gold at a premium, but when we go and sell the gold, we sell it at a discount. So that is where the losses, that's where the trading losses come in, right? But the gold board has to price like that, because if it does not price like that, then people will go to the smugglers and sell the gold to them. Like some, not, they won't be able to do the volumes that they're doing right now. So currently, and some people might ask, so that is how the losses come about. The other part of the losses is also the fees that the gold board charge the Bank of Ghana, right? So the assay fees and then the service charges, right? So my understanding, like I said, was that all of those market costs were supposed to be built into the gold board pricing model, so that the gold board will buy at a discount here on the buying side, so that even when it sells, it can at least break even, right? And the other thing to think about is the transactions are very quick. They settle very quickly. These are like, we're looking at about weekly transactions, right? So it's not like they can buy the gold today and say, okay, well, gold prices are going to increase, so let's wait, and maybe if it goes up, then that's when we will get, that's where the timing thing. So you buy it at $4,000 per ounce here. They use Ghana pound. There's a whole calculation of the Ghana pound. I don't want to go into that because the Ghana pound is more of an informal measure. So we just informal units of measure. So let's use the standard international standard, which is the troy ounce. So we buy at 4,000, but when we go and sell, we sell at a discount. The CEO of Goldboard one time mentioned to me that the gold discount is about 1.25% or something like that. But we even think it's more because of the markets that we are selling. We are not selling to the more premium markets. We are selling to the more discount markets, and that's how the losses come about. So my analysis or my argument is that if the gold board is taking all these credits for and the IMF statement is very particular. It says that the losses are happening on the small scale Dory gold transactions part of the gold for reserves program. As I've said, we have passed a law that the gold board is responsible for that transaction. So there is no way we can do all the spinning and all of that, but there is no way we can have this argument with that, saying that the gold board that is from the gold board's operations, right? Because it wasn't. Remember, I mentioned there's the large scale part. To they buy. The Bank of Ghana still buys from the 20% from the large scale miners. That is not what that's not what the IMF is talking about. The IMF is talking about the Dory, the artisanal and small scale Dory transaction. That is the gold board's responsibility. So we do not. That's why I'm saying that all these discussions should not have even happened. Like the debate should not have gone on to this long. I think it's pretty clear. Then there's this argument about we have to wait for audited financial statements, right? The IMF got data from the Bank of Ghana and the Ghanaian authorities, right? The IMF didn't plug this data out of thin air. It did come from us. We give them the data because as part of our program, we have to give them data. There's a set amount of there's a frequency to which we have to give them data on all these different things that we are doing. So that is in that data. In any case, if when the gold boss says it's brought in $10 billion in forex, is that audited? Right. So if we are to accept that, why are we discounting the other side, which is the downsides, right? And I think I've also seen people try to say, well, it's only a certain percentage of 10 billion. That analysis is inaccurate, right? Because this is a loss. So it's the difference between what went in and what came out. That is what the loss is, right? So it's not like, so it's only we've Yaboka 214 million, but we've generated 10 billion. No, that analysis is flawed, right? So I'm just taking a look at my notes here to see, make sure I've covered. The other thing that people also try to say is that I'm trying to sort of talk through some of the narratives that have come up. One of the things that people say is that, well, we've generated benefits, so what if there's a loss? Remember that the domestic gold purchasing program, right? When the previous government started it, the Bank of Ghana's holdings of gold was about 8.4 or 8.7 tons. By December 2024, it was 28.1 tons. So we've significant. And remember, I said they wanted to double it in 5 years. They've tripled it in less than 5 years. Does that mean we shouldn't discuss the losses? right? And that increase in the gold reserve is very important because that basically moved Ghana towards being able to get closer to the IMF's targets. There we had gross international reserve target of 3.5 months of import cover by the end of by 2028 or something. By end of December, then we are at about, I think we're about 2.5 months, because the IMF used a bit of a different definition of the gross international reserves. Even when you look at the main one, we were more than the 3.5. But when you discount it and take into account the fact that let's remove the petroleum heritage funds and all the other incumbent assets, we're looking at that. So that also contributed. So the reason the government now, one of the reasons the government now is able to quickly then just do cash, get the forex and bring it in, is that it doesn't have to continue to add on to the gold reserve so much significantly, because the work has been done to move it to a certain level, and then this is continuing. So there's a bit more room for the government to be able to now just do straight up gold swap for cash and be able to inject some of that into to support the city, right? So all I'm saying is that I always advocate for comprehensive analysis. If we are claiming credits, then we should be willing and not resort to spends to try to discount all these other costs that comes with these benefits. That's not how comprehensive analysis work. The final thing that I want to add is that if you want to, and I follow the CEO, I'm very interested in the gold board operations. People that follow me on Twitter knows that. So, because of that, I've followed a lot of the conversation from the CEO. I've chatted with him on the timeline on some of the things, and when you listen to him, one of the things he says is that they have inherited a lot of the things. So I'm of the view that even the impact of the gold board itself, the gold board model, is too early to measure it, because the CEO says that from next year, that's when we are going to do the full operation of the gold board. So the gold board, and for people that are not aware, when this started, the government actually didn't want the bank. It wasn't like the Bank of Ghana was going to finance it. What was happening was that the government allocated a $279 million seed fund, seed capital to the gold board, so that the gold board will use that to buy 3 tons of gold in weekly and sell. That was the business model. That was what was supposed to happen. In reality, that did not happen. The government actually did not disburse the 279 million as of Q3 2025. That had not been disbursed. That's the latest data that I have seen. Now they are saying that going to next year, the gold board is going to basically do into full operation. So the gold board is going to do it fully. So the reason these losses are important is that now the Bank of Ghana has a big balance sheet, right? So maybe the Bank of Ghana will be able to absorb the losses. But what if the gold board is trading on its own books and still doing this idea of we buy at a premium and then we sell at a discount? That is going to deplete its seed capital. When I said that, the gold board CEO agreed. And so it's like they have to find proper risk mitigation strategies in order to address this issue, right? Because otherwise, we're gonna come back here and then we're saying that we gave the gold board this seed capital and it is left with this much, right? And I can understand, like, again, I can understand the need, and that because they are coming into a market, they're trying to basically disrupt the market, right? They're trying to say, okay, now we're going to centralize this, and so it comes at a cost. So I can understand some of that. What I can understand is the excuses, right, and their attempt to deflect. I think that those part I just include, even to the point that we are calling data that we ourselves have given to the IMF, we're calling it speculative. But when the IMF praises our economy and talks about all of that, is that also based on audited financial statement? In any case, people that are auditors on this page would know that external auditors, they are not the ones that prepare the financial statements. The financial statements are prepared by the management of the company. So the Bank of Ghana management, they prepare the financial statement, and then all the auditors do is that they verify and they make sure that, okay, that's why they give an opinion that this is give a fair representation. Does this give a fair representation? The accounting principles that must be followed, are they following that? Right. So if the IMF has that data, it is data that we have given them. It's not that we have to wait for. I think that the whole argument of the audit is just a red herring, right? I don't think it holds any water, because it is based on the data that we have given them. So Austin, I think I can stop here, and then maybe we can have some more conversation. Sorry, I was rambling a little bit.
Oh, no, no worries, no worries. I think that so now questions that I'm asking. Um the domestic gold purchase program, you are saying there were losses, right? Um, Annually, averagely, how much were the losses?
Well, so the goal for that's the thing. The other again, this is where I talk about the access to information, right? So, the gold for oil packs. That's the one that we know about the losses that came out of that. Then again,
Yeah.
the gold for oil is a component.
Let's deal with that because we
Yes,
don't have for all the program. So the goal
yes,
for oil, like
yes.
how much were we losing annually,
The
averagely
IMF said it was 128 million dollars last year was what we lost through the gold for oil. And
before?
30% of those losses were just from selling about, I think they said about $800 million worth of gold or something like that. But yeah,
Okay.
that's from the that's
So,
from the that's
so
from the
that one,
Mhm.
where did the losses come about? How did it come about?
Well, the good for oil part, and I think that's where I think I was talking about the transparency piece of things, right? So it could have come from broker fees, it could have come from trading, the forex differences, right? Because they buy at a certain rate, and then by the time they sell it, the forex are depreciated, and that impacts how much dollars is coming in. So there were so many factors there that was also responsible for the gold for oil,
Okay.
but we don't have that. I would, like I said, we don't have that much information about the gold for even to now, right? So right now, all we know is that the Bank of Ghana, in its 2024 annual report in the financial statement, said that the gold for oil they gave the gold for oil a seed capital of I need to dig it up, but they gave a certain seed capital by 2024 they had lost 1.82 billion cedis of that, and then the loss in 2023 was 314 million, but I need to find the exact seed capital. I think it was 4 point something that they gave them.
Okay.
So that's how the law, but then it's all on trading, right? It's all on just the forex, the trading. There's so many moving factors here,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
there was also transparency issues in the gold for oil.
Okay.
Um,
The current 214 million is for 9 months, right, in the year.
Correct.
So it means it's likely to go up because of the last 3 months have not been added.
Absolutely.
We are looking at $250 million, something like that.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
conservatively, yes. Because the pricing model has not changed. So I don't expect that
Okay.
nothing, anything will
Where
change. Yeah.
did the bank IMF say why are we carrying those losses? Like why?
Trading losses. I think I explained it, right?
Yeah, yeah. What
So,
does that mean? I want you to
okay.
why
So,
because
Austin, so
yeah,
let's look at it this way. Um, I grew up in Western North, right? So there were people that will come and buy plantain. I'm trying to use
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to see if I
Basically,
can use
that's
a
what
plantain
we do.
analogy
Yeah,
to explain
yeah,
this. So plantain has a market value, right? Say one plantain cry and way in kind of saying
true,
the
true, true.
one draw of plantain
Yeah,
has a market value.
yeah,
So you go and buy the plantain at that, but the other, because so right now you have monopoly to buy
yeah,
the all the plantain in the markets.
yeah,
But the market, if historically, has been so informal that if you don't price your plantain well, people will not buy to sell to you. They will go and sell to some of the other, even though it is illegal,
yeah,
because you've made the law that it is illegal.
yeah.
So in order, and the plantain again has a world market value, right? So
Okay.
let's say the world market value is 10 cities,
Yeah,
right? So you give them the 10 cities and even add some one CDB on top of it
yeah. As incentive.
as incentive, so they
Okay,
keep selling to you.
okay,
But that plantain is, let's say the plantain is not really pure. Maybe there's a certain part of the plantain that you have to pull it
okay.
out, like
So
it's
let,
not
let,
clean.
let me explain it. So, I'm saying anywhere near there. So okoto body dura, like when we cut the plantain, that bunch from its tree or its that thing is in its normal or proper state. So we buy it from a farmers. So let's say that the agric ministry is the only one mandated to buy the huge plantain from the farmers. When the agric ministry buys it, the price that the world is buying it or selling, if you want to sell to the world, is 10 cedis. But when you buy it from the Ghanaian farmer, you need to buy it for 10 cedis, 50 pesos, because previously they were selling to the other people. It was haphazard. Somebody will say, I'll give you this, I'll give you that. So you need to give them an incentive to sell to the Ministry of Agri. So instead of buying it at 9 cedis so that we Ghana can go and sell at the world for 10 cedis, so we get 1 cedi profit, we rather buy it from the Ghanaian farmer 10 cedis, 50 pesos. But when we bring it to Accra to go and export, we need to cut it from the trunk or something. Also, to chop body and then 1111 plantain. What goes into cutting all of that? You get people, manpower, workers, staff. It will cost us another 50 pesos. So it means that now we have expended 11 cedis, and also we are transporting it abroad, another 1 cedi. So it means that when we finish everything, package it, and send it to abroad, we will go and sell it for 10 cedis, but we would have spent 12 cedis in preparing it, buying it, preparing it to go and sell. So we would have made a loss of 2 cedis. Have I explained it in layman terms?
Yeah, I think you got it. And the other thing I should mention also is that the markets that I said, the market that we are bringing it to, right? The market itself, just because of the issues with small scale gold, the quality of it and all that. So that market that we are selling to doesn't also buy at the premium. So the market won't even buy it at the LBMA price, right? It
They will
buys it
not
at
buy
the
it at 10. They would rather buy
aha.
it at 9.5. So
Yeah,
now we would lose 2.5.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That is why we
So
have made
that's
$240 million.
that's why we have made those losses, right? But the other thing is that so then Unse, and I think people that follow me, I think Sammy Gyamfi came and then replied to me that well, we have to think about what is the objective of
No,
the
no, no.
gold
We will
board.
come to. Don't bring in Sammy Gyamfi. Let us we understand it.
Okay,
When
okay,
we
okay, okay. Sure, sure, sure,
understand it,
sure.
we can decipher what Sammy Gyamfi is saying to be the correct thing or wrong. You get
Yeah,
that? So
yeah, yeah,
once
yeah,
we
yeah.
bring others in, it will convolute the conversation. We would rather be responding to what people have said.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine.
yeah.
No, I'm only saying it because it was something that he had replied to me on one of my tweets, right? But that's fine.
Okay.
What he was saying, the basically the idea is that, and this is something that somebody that I talked to somebody that had worked that was at the Bank of Ghana when this whole domestic gold purchase program started, right? So the idea is that well, it's about reserves accumulation, right? So we want to accumulate reserves. We want to get forex, right? So there is a cost to that. But it sounds to me that what this person was basically, what this explanation was basically was that it's not really about profit and loss, right? And this is something I disagree with personally because I'm saying, well, if that's the case, then we don't need to put competent people in charge of the gold board. We can even put a first year finance student like to go and buy gold, exchange the gold for forex, and as long as you're bringing a lot of forex, it doesn't matter what cost you are incurring to come to bring the forex. And the reason I think it's important is that again, once the gold board starts trading on its own books, this even becomes more important because the gold board will not have access to unlimited amount of cash of CDs to buy gold. So it's important that it is at least breaking even. So when we say that oh, it's not a commercial nature, it's not about profit making. I don't think that's necessarily true, in the sense that we have to trade and we have to have that risk mitigation strategies in such a way that we are bringing in the forex, all right. We are accomplishing that mandate. We are helping build up the reserves, but we're also doing that at minimal cost, at minimal risk. I think that's important. So when those risks happen, because once you start discounting things at this point, if you're just in the first year of operation, you already discount then cost. Then what does that mean? The other thing to keep in mind is that all of these losses are even happening when gold prices are increasing. So imagine, so these trading losses that we are talking about trading losses in terms of the, like from the forex point of view, where we are how much we are buying and how much we're selling and all of that. Imagine if you buy gold today for 4,000, by tomorrow it is like 3,500. It has reduced. Imagine how much losses you're going to make, or how much loss you're going to actually make on
But
that.
let me ask this: per the bill that was passed in Parliament in law, would we be operating it like Cocoa Board, where no matter the world market price, we never reduce it for farmers? We show the difference up for them. Is that what Gold Board would be doing?
No, what like I said earlier, my understanding is that it's actually supposed to build that discount into it. So the market cost, no, the cocoa board also charges them a certain percentage, right? So cocoa board gives the farmers who their plan is to give them 70% of FOB. Basically, is what that's what the mandate is, and so that the 30% can be used for its operations. But that is a long-standing model that the farmers have come to understand, right? When they do that, Goldboard coming in also has to build that trust in order to be able to now say that okay, we're going to buy at that discount. So that's one of the reasons I
No, no,
say
no.
it is.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. I'm saying that for cocoa, right? Government of Ghana never reduces the pricing, even if it goes down in world market. What we do is, if it goes down by $500 per ton, we rather, instead of reducing it for farmers, which would cause chaos in Ghana and a national security threat, the government rather finds $500 and pays it, and so Ghana government gets hit, and we appreciate it because we know that it is cocoa that has sustained education. It is cocoa that has sustained us. So if we have to take a hit as a country to help the farmers so that we don't reduce it for them, Ghanaians appreciate that. Is
Yeah.
that the same way Gold Board is going to operate?
I don't know about that, but
Yeah,
one
we
thing one
need to
one thing
get
that I
that.
know is that even with CocoaBot, right, the reason
Yeah,
CocoaBot is able to do that is because of the forward sales, right? So we sell about 70% of the cocoa forward. So by the
yeah,
time when the world market price go, I mean, of course, it has a downside too. By the time right now the cocoa price is going down, but a lot of the cocoa has already been sold forward at those higher world market prices. We're able to make
yeah,
up of some of those differences, right? But
yeah.
all to say that the I'm not sure. That will also depend on what funding the gold board
And
is
we,
going
we
to
need
get
to
from
get
the.
that from them. If we are not sure, let's not speculate.
Yeah.
So we need to get that thing from them. That is key. Also, when we talk about minimizing the risk and the losses, right? Have we, or have you as an analyst done extensive work to say that this part we can reduce the losses there? Or which part can we reduce those losses?
The part that we can reduce the losses
Yeah.
is by building those costs, the cost that we just discussed, building it into the pricing,
Yeah,
right?
but
But
would that suffice in in just this 1 year where everything is chaotic? Would that suffice?
yeah, well, so that's why we are looking. This that's why we are looking forward, though, right? So the idea, and this was why. So it depends on, again. That's there are a couple of things. There are trade offs that we have to make, right?
Yeah.
If we want to keep getting the volumes that we are getting, right? If we're going to get the volumes that we want to get, then we have to continue to offer those incentives, or we have to really crack down on smuggling.
Exactly, exactly. So you see, I think that if the head of that institution was not a huge political figure, we will not be having this issue. Because you see, we have done, it's a huge market for smuggling and all that. And gold, the money is huge. And when it's like the drug cartel business in other parts of the world. So now, if we are not able to clamp down on smuggling, if we are not able to sanitize the system, it would be difficult for us to reduce the losses, which has to do with we giving the incentives. I don't know if you appreciate that.
Absolutely, I think that's fundamental. Like that would be a key thing, right? Like we have to really crack down on the smuggling. You
But
know,
when you
the
when you
smuggling part. Sorry, on the
okay,
smuggling part, right?
yeah,
That was one of the key. I think that's one of the key mandates of the gold board as well, right? We haven't
yeah,
actually analyzed that because we've seen that the gold board has arrested some people. That's fine, but remember that the smuggling was that the idea was that when you look at how much gold Ghana says it has exported to Dubai, for example, and then how much gold Dubai says it has imported from Ghana, there's a big difference. And that's those are the foundations of what this is what forms the some of the data that you see around. Okay, this is the estimate of how much smuggling there has been, right?
So
So we
you are
haven't even
saying that there's still smuggling if you use other variables from other parts of the world.
I
There's
don't
still
know. What
smuggling.
I'm saying is that because we have to wait for the end of the year, the data usually comes from the UN has the
Okay.
UN Comtrade, right? And
Okay.
so all the countries report to it on their imports and exports, right? So we'll have to wait for that data to see how has that picture changed, right? Whether at least in 1 year again, I don't expect much to change in a year. Honestly, like I'm always patient. I personally I think that when it
Yeah.
comes to impact
Yeah.
analysis, it takes time,
Yeah.
right? And so, but it's always when the political speak comes in, right? That's where it's like, well, we
Yeah.
have to
I
really.
think that if the head was not that huge political figure, and can people that understand, because how you have explained it and how I have understood it, I think that it's more of a political course settling. But let me ask this: these questions we as ordinary Ghanaians are asking, right? It should have been asked when the bill was being passed by our representatives in Parliament.
Austin,
Yeah.
you can check my timeline. You can check, Bright Simmons's timeline. We've talked about the law, that particular. Remember that this is not the first time these losses are happening. Myth, right? Myth also did gold trading, made losses. Right now, there are prosecutions happening with Myth. Meanwhile, becomes an investment fund. Even the Bank of Ghana itself through the good for oil. So one of the things that came up was, okay, what is the risk mitigation strategy here, right? Like, and I think sometimes it's like sometimes early on you get dismissed, right? Because and this was why some of the analysis earlier on was that if the gold board is going to they might not be able to make some of the volumes because of this. Like if they were going to take over the complete the market and change things and start pricing at discount, they will not be able to meet the what's it called, the volumes target that they have. But now they've done well with the volumes. But the reason they've done well with the volumes is because of these incentives that they are offering to the market, right? And so I think some of these things already, and it was also always about pushing for, okay, what led to Meth making losses? What led to, how you are asking me go for oil, why did it make losses? It's trying to glean from what things have, some of the little information that has been put up publicly, right? When you ask for more detailed information, that hardly comes, right? So it's like, okay, what did we learn from gold for oil? Because remember, Austin, you and I were here. There were a lot of stories that were published about how much gold for oil has brought down petroleum products. Were there
Yeah.
not stories
Yeah.
like that? There were stories like that published. There were stories about impact, but later we found out that, well, and at the time analysts would say, well, look at the broader context. Look at how petroleum product prices are moving. Look at so many different factors in this analysis. That of course is always dismissed, right? Because it's like you are too book long and all of that. So that's the thing. This is not like a gotcha movement or anything. This is just saying that as a country we have to, if we don't learn from all these different things that we do, and we just want to be able to do the same things under different titles and under different names, we're going to keep having these same problems,
Okay.
right?
Alfred, then I have a problem with civil society and members of parliament. Or I have a problem with you. Maybe they have done that work, but you did not avert your mind to it or haven't. Because you see, they spent close to 2 months canvassing the support of civil society, trying to change the bill, modify it, do all these things. It went to parliament. It spent close to like a month there as well. Imani was there. Why are they not telling Bright Simmons that we raised this issue and they explained it and we understood it? That is why we supported it. Or if they did not raise it, the civil society has felt that because Mekura Minim Shey and some of the people here who do not have that much knowledge, we have said that if you do this, you fall short. How come civil society that spend 2 months with them say go and change this, go and change that, then they will go and change it and bring it after everything? Civil society said it is good, clean bill of health. It went to parliament. Parliament subsidiary legislature. Go on the main floor. They debated it. They have passed. How come these things did not come up, or it came up and it was explained? I don't get it. I don't know, Alfred. I don't know civil society because All the civil society gave it a clean bill of health. How did they not identify this weakness ordinary people with limited knowledge like myself and others here have identified? No, something is amiss. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Austin,
I don't know. Yeah.
Austin, the bill, right? The bill wouldn't say, for example, they're going to buy the gold at a premium and sell at a discount, right? The bill won't say that. So one of the things that people have advocated for is, apart from legislation, right? Organizations or new entities like the GOLDBOD, for instance, have to get into the practice of also providing operational manuals and things to the public for scrutiny. It's not just about legislation, because legislation has certain specific things. Legislation is not, or like I should say, by legislation, in this case, I mean the act itself, right? There could be regulations and things that also guide. I don't remember seeing regulations in the GOLDBOD case, but there were the act itself, right? The act is not going to go into a lot of the operational details, right? And actually, I should also mention that civil society wouldn't expect that the GOLDBOD will even publish its full trading strategy. That would be giving out its secrets, right? But things like risk mitigation, this like things like, okay, that's what we learned from MIF. Those are things that would have to be in a manual somewhere to tell us that this is what we're going to do to mitigate these risks, right? That is not, but I think sometimes some of that information is not forthcoming with our organizations,
Yeah, but
right?
Alfred, I agree with you perfectly. I don't think that those civil society, over 20 of them, that gave it a clean bill of health was just about the bill and its passage. Because they also went around Ghana, small scale miners, speaking to them. Civil society said, no, change this. And I'm saying that when you are civil society and a bill is being passed, I don't think it has to do just with the law. You should be asking operational issues, because even though it is a law we were changing, the main thing was the operational issues. So nobody asked them. Let's say it was just about the bill, which is the law part. But you was stopped from asking these things. No,
Austin, one
yeah.
thing that one let me just mention something here as well. The the model, right? The model itself has changed a little bit, right? Even
Oh,
even after
okay.
legislation,
Okay.
right? So I think I gave you the example of the fact that the government was going to give it a seed capital of $279 million
Yeah, through the budget. Yeah.
through the budget, and that was allocated, but that was not disbursed. So right now, I think it looks like they're going to the government. It sounds like the government is going to disburse it now, going into the new year, and so that would be that. The other thing is that when and for like I said, I followed this issue for some time. So when the GOLDBOD started with its website, right, when you go to the initial pricing strategy, there was a 2% discount that was there. And then they had said that it was going to cover assay fees. It was going to cover the other fee. The other fee that I actually forgot to mention is the aggregators. They also charge a fee, right? That's all part of the cost. But the point was that 2% discount theoretically was supposed to cover the assay fees, all these charges that we are talking about, all the things for the what's it called, the aggregators. Because if you buy, those were all part of it. But so I'm sure whoever would have been in the room would have heard about that yeah, we're going to price it as a discount, and it was in the IMF document even that the operating is that the model is that it's going to be charged. They're going to charge a little bit of a discount to account for these market costs. In practice, that has changed. They have to adapt, because if otherwise they're going to collapse. There
Oh
was a
yeah, I
time
remember at the
in
time
August.
when I think it was going down and the
Yes,
volumes. Sammy had to introduce a premium.
the premium.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've had to adopt operation, and so for things like that, I appreciate that and I commend that. But I think it's like, while we are commending that, right? Then it's like, okay, well, there's a downside of that. We cannot obscure that, or we cannot seem to cover that downside.
But
That
Alfred,
has been my argument all along.
so if you are listening to us, you can also request for the mic, ask a question, or share your thoughts.